Alright, I think this thing is working. Let's see. We have limited vision here. Put my old man reading glasses on. Luckily, nobody can hear me yet. That's Kevin Keller and Clee's sister. I know you can't hear me. Ah, busted. What do you think about that? Okay, let's see here. All right, these notes. This is going to piss everybody off, but I'm going to need to put some lighting on here. I'll bet you a candle's going to look fucking stupid. That's what I'm going to do. Reach around. Reach around is a bad phrase because there's naughty bits involved there. Let's see. If you hear a crash, it's going to be my ass knocked over 3 different drinks. Let's see here. So far, this is the worst birthday party in the history of birthday parties. I would totally be pissed off if this was my party. Well, I mean, it's my party because I'm throwing it, but I'm just saying, if I was the recipient of this party, that's where we'd be saying, what the fuck is going on here? Alright, so now that goes there. Alright, here we go. Might as well do this. Alright, so we're going to click on Live Scene. Hi everyone, there's me. Now we're going to do this. See, we have this lighting. I don't know if that fucked me up or not, but I could really use that light. Greetings, welcome, one and all, and welcome to Mrs. Comic's birthday bash. The reason I'm having trouble saying things is because I thought it was only 7 o'clock. So Mrs. Comic went to the grocery store to get me some ginger ale mostly, and I put the cone out to hold her spot, and neighbors that we like had company, and they went, oh boy, wasn't that nice of them to put the cone out. So Mrs. Comic had to park like 19 miles away and tote my heavy ginger ale here for her birthday bash. So I'm a little nuts. So if you see this here, right here, this is a blue snowball microphone. Everybody streams with them. I didn't hook this thing up yet. Hang on. I'm not going to hook it up. I'm just going to show you what I failed to do while I was moving cones. So this, all the people who stream have this, but then this hides my face, so that's kind of a little bit stupid. And I don't know. I'm guessing it's so that I don't spit on my own microphone, or if wind comes through here, that'll be fine. So I'll be doing this. I hope it sounds good. I hope it actually sounds better than it normally sounds, because the whole dicking around with this snowball microphone was moving forward on doing book readings that will be podcasts, and I did for the first time in my Googling shit on YouTube, the how-tos where you put in the thing that you want to do, and there's 4,000 choices, and it's a 14-year-old kid who says, you plug this into that, and this and that, and then you do this and this and that, and then you're good to go. I actually put in the search the blue snowball microphone versus the webcam mic that I have that's his actual pretty good camera, and it was actually kind of amazing, because he went, okay, now this is me with the snowball mic on, and then this is how I sound. Now I'm going to flip a switch, and this is me with the webcam on, and then this is me with the webcam on. So I was dicking around with this thing all day long, really fucked up the book writing, fucked up the birthday party, kind of fucked everything up. I had to fuck around with the levels, and I actually recorded at 8 minutes of 8 a test audio clip, but I didn't have my hat on, I didn't look sexy, and so now we can officially start the show. We haven't really started the show yet, so happy birthday to my lovely wife over there. We had just a wonderful time yesterday, and it was nice. And she made for herself, or mostly me, because I'm the one who'll eat it, the Milky Way cake, which is the thing that I forgot to say last week when someone said, what's the best stuff she makes for me? Milky Way cake is amazing. And then we had, yesterday, we had, our daughter treated us to Indian takeout food, and we took the Milky Way cake over. The Milky Way cake is actually a part of our lives and our daughters growing up with Milky Way cake. And then we were talking about there were extra Milky Way bars, and then our daughter said, oh no, are you telling me that there's actual Milky Way bars in the Milky Way cake? Because I thought it was just a thing like to try to get the flavors to match, like the confetti cake. There's no actual confetti in there, and we're like, yes, there's like 19 fucking Milky Way bars in there, and like maybe 17 because I got 2 extra ones. And she said the most amazing thing, she said, my entire life has been a lie because I didn't know there were Milky Way bars in there. And then she said, that kind of reminds me of those chocolate peanut butter balls you used to make. And when I see you, she's talking to her mother, and when she said those chocolate covered peanut butter balls, I was driving and I just started to scream like a fucking horror movie, because I totally forgot about the peanut butter balls, and they are fucking incredible. That would have to pair quite perfectly with bourbon balls and peanut butter balls. And they tell me I've screamed in the car for a solid quarter of a mile. I believe it might have been a little longer than that, but that's what happened there. So we had a lovely birthday bash. Mostly what we did for her birthday, we went to Sparks the week before. I know that sounds like it sucks, but it was actually really kind of an incredible experience. I'm going to get the snowball mic going here. And as I pitched this thing tonight as a Mrs. Comic's birthday bash, I actually thought about some stuff. It's not a roast, because there's nothing to roast. If we're going to roast anyone, we'll just roast me for being a dick. That's what we do there. But I do have some fantastic stories. And again, I put my lighting, so now I'm going to do this, and I'm at the wrong spot. I'm going to lean over here, check my notes like this. No, look, I can actually hide behind my snowball. That's kind of cool. So the problem with the snowball is Richter in the house, there's bourbon bowls, everybody here. I was looking for clips to put on TikTok. And what I was going to put on TikTok, they're going to be short clips, was actually when I was learning Streamlabs live, the frame, the vintage frame, or whatever the hell it is. And if you recall, I totally failed, and then I figured it out when I had a bourbon in hand, and then we went back on. I was going to put the bourbon in hand clip back on because the frame was here, and then I was out of the frame, and I was in the frame. You can't drink bourbon on TikTok. This is a violation. I did not find out the hard way, because I don't want to get booted off TikTok. Apparently everybody's TikToking, and if you don't have a cat, you really shouldn't TikTok. But I have a cat, but it doesn't help my TikTok because you have to actually have the cat in the TikTok. So this show I did, some of these things will make sense eventually. So I'm trying to figure out TikTok, because last night, was it last night? Thursday. No, it would have been Wednesday night. Wednesday night, I recorded a podcast. My wife just almost fainted and rolled right off the couch and out onto the front porch, because she was thinking I was talking about her birthday, which I know was yesterday, but we were talking about the podcast. So she thought I was talking about her birthday, but I was talking about the podcast that I taped Wednesday. Is that when I taped it? Wednesday? Thursday. I'm going to just turn this over to my wife. She corrected me that I have been completely off on all the days. And so it is, in fact, her birthday bash. So I'm just going to flip her the hat, and she can come in here and correct me. Whatever day was not my wife's birthday, I was doing a podcast recording, and they TikToked it, and I used this fucking snowball microphone, and it sounded good. They said it did, but when I heard it, it was a little shaky. But I actually think you're going to clean that up. Now, that show will drop, I would tell you what night, but apparently I am wrong every fucking time. But if I had to make a guess, I would say it's going to drop tomorrow night. It is in the description for this live stream, and they had me after we did it. I went so long, I warned them I wouldn't shut up. It's going to be a two-parter, and when we were done with like 90 minutes of me babbling away like I'm doing, they asked me to do a liner for them. This is Venmo Amish Comic, and you're listening to, and I couldn't remember the name of the fucking show that I was supposed to say that I was on, and I asked them, and then they'd tell me, and then I still couldn't fucking remember because I was 90 minutes of telling stories and didn't have a brain left. It was yesterday was Thursday and tomorrow's Sunday, and one was the birthday and the podcast all fucking over again. So that's tomorrow night in theory, and I think it is something hanging out with Troy, and I don't know specifically. It's in the description, and you can hear the whole long thing. Word of caution though, but it's actually kind of amazing to see because they're trying to go syndicated, and I think this is like their thing they're presenting me, and I didn't fucking curse at all. So now I've got a lot of vented up cursing hostility inside me, and the cone got moved, and everything's off the fucking railroad tracks here. So just know that if you watch that, and you should give it a watch as much as you can stand it. I'm not cursing. I mean, shit might fly out or something like that, but nothing all that ridiculous. So that was a lot of fun for me, and I had no brain left, and apparently that has carried on over to today. So now back to birthdays. Okay, so my wife gets cheated on birthdays every year. It's the time of the year when I don't have much comedy work anyway. If it's getting into spring and then it's Easter, this can be rough for comedy, and we can say that for me about all the months now, so it's no big deal. So before the days of not having money, accidentally, my wife around her birthday would get to go see something amazing in New York. Iggy Pop or Philip Glass. One Man, Two Governors that has Smithy. James Corden is in that. Fantastic. One of her birthday shows was Inherit the Wind with Christopher Plummer and Brian Dennehy in the Scopes Monkey Trial, and we were like fake jewelry on the stage. We didn't get to really do nothing but sit there, but them fuckers, like Christopher Plummer was like right there walking around, and Brian Dennehy was right there running around. And then of course, before we got taken to our jury seats, they said if you have to go to the bathroom or anything, you got to do it, you can't leave during the show. That's for dang sure, and I don't believe there was any intermissions at all. So my wife went to the ladies' room, and her daughter and myself went on our seats, and she had her ticket. She would find us, and then when she came, by the time she came back, there was a band playing on stage, like an old with the trombones and the little drums and all that shit. So my wife got actually played on to the stage. Now, me, I'd be all over that. Her possibly might have caused her to have to go make another wee-wee again. So being able to go see Sparks for her birthday was fantastic. Side note here, Mary's running around like a nut. Bearcat hasn't been out there yet, but the food is out, and it stinks like all hellfire thanks to Stein and Sarah. I think that's happening now because I just saw Mary over there, and she got a fat tail, and then she ran through here, and she might floomp the window. I actually hope she does. I've actually given up on trying to get her into this show, because if you were with us last week, I tried like a son of a gun to get her in this seat, and that's why I moved the live stream back to this chair. So far, none of this has anything to do with birthday. But the names of my live streams are often lies, just to be clear about that. Right when I was done live streaming, Mary jumped up on this chair. Because I think she is not used to me going nuts. Where again, Sparky, our beloved cocktail, she actually loved when I got all worked up, and she'd be all over the snowball microphone and shitting on technologies and stuff. So Mary seems to be more of a I'll wait till all this shit is over kind of guest. So the hell was I talking about? Oh, birthday stories. Wife birthday stories. What's your name? Fuck you, TikTok. That's bourbon right there. Alright, checking my notes here. My mind is completely blank. I've been I'm so excited about this snowball microphone. I might be the only one. It looks so fucking cool. It looks for a while I just used it not hooked up when I did guest spots. Because like, wow, the Amish guy's got a snowball. And the Peckerheads from last night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, whatever night I recorded this thing that's going to happen possibly tomorrow night, they couldn't believe the Amish guy had a snowball. And they were reaching into their pants and pulling microphones out of their pants and all kinds of shit. I didn't want to ask any questions about that. So I got this thing all wired up here, which will move forward the book readings. I'm very excited about that. I can get my ass in gear here. Check my notes here. Oh, so I'm flashing back to the birthday stories mostly have to do with our lives together. See, the thing is here, I met my wife too young, right? I'm 18 years old. She was getting ready to go through a divorce, and she had 3 kids already. Nobody 18 wants to date someone with 3 kids that's about to go through a divorce. But when you are trimming hedges at the hardware store in this town as a part-time job with an electric hedge trimmer, which did in fact give me a thrill, when the gorgeous brunette that is my wife now drives past in a Mustang, an old classic Mustang, and smiles at me, the first thing goes through your head is like, I hope she doesn't have 3 kids and is about to go through a horrible divorce. You go, holy fuck, that gorgeous woman made goo-goo eyes at me, and she's in a Mustang, and I literally cut the electric cord with the hedge trimmers when I saw her. So there were literal sparks. And so the Sparks concert has nothing to do with that, but it seems like it does. And if you ever have a chance to cut an electric cord with an electric hedge trimmer, I suggest you do not. Because you know those cartoons when the dynamite blows up in their hand and their head doesn't blow off or anything, but there's like a little poof of dark smoke? That was me. And so I had just started this job, and I promised them that I could handle my electric, and I had to go in and say, I didn't break the hedge trimmer, but I'm going to need a new 300-foot cord. So the stories fly back to that. We've been together forever. I don't know what I would do without this woman. See, when you meet somebody that you know is the one, but you're not old enough, you're not ready, it's amazing that we made it, because this isn't even a mock. Back then, I was somebody that I would not want my daughter to date. I was a wild hippie, and I was completely undependable. So my wife, over a couple of years, she tried to break up with me like 3 times, and I didn't. You're kidding. So I didn't stalk her or nothing, but it didn't stick. And now here we are, however many years later, is kind of really amazing. And so I'm reflecting on some of this too. Back in these hippie days, right? So I'm 19 years old. Somehow I tricked her into giving me a ride to a record store, and she's driving me in this Mustang, and I'm like 18 years old, and we didn't even really have just a teeny little bit of dating going on then. Well, we actually probably just met. We might not have even had a date then. And so that's how much of a dick I am. Hey, what are you doing tomorrow night? Nothing. Can you drive me to work? I kind of think that's what happened. And then when she said, I asked her while she was driving over, I said, would you mind if I ask how old you are? Terrible question. She said, 22. If you're fucking 18, 19 years old, and the answer is 22, that's fucking rock star right there. So, we've been together that long, and the birthdays become, I wouldn't say less important, but we have fun all the time whenever we can have it. That's what we do. So we have some great times going on, and it's just been absolutely incredible. And I can't see my notes here because I seem like I segued into something, but I really didn't. There's the electrical cord story. So the other thing is, a rant from my show is, if you're dating someone and you go into your girlfriend's family's Christmas for the first year, you're not welcome there. And it just is the thing. Even if it's imagined, nobody fucking knows you. It's completely awkward. And what threw me off was that her family was like really nice. And I went in there with kind of like my metaphor guns loaded, and they were like nice, and that kind of fucking tripped me up a little bit. And I met her family is all kinds of people that I would never meet, and it would be her brother-in-law, a DuPont executive, and he wound up driving Jeff Gordon around instead of, forcing him into retirement. They're like, okay, you have earned the right to be Jeff Gordon's personal, pick him up at the airport, and Jeff Gordon's really a dumb son of a bitch. So this guy and me should have never met, and he had a razor sharp sense of humor. And then suddenly I realized that this is kind of a really cool family. And then I didn't see him for about a year, and I'm like, okay, so if my new girlfriend isn't going to break up with me anymore, and this nice family, I have to kind of present myself a little better. I gotta give them a reason to like me. Basically, what the thing was. So I actually cut my hair a little bit, and I spent a year, and I worked out like a motherfucker, and I went in there, and I was all proud. And then my DuPont Jeff Gordon driving around buddy, he's the one that I wanted to impress the most. This guy's a fucking executive. I can fucking sit and hang with a fucking executive. He thinks he's better than me, which he never did, but it's all shit we imagine. And I was all waiting for my review. I had a shirt that was too fucking tight, ripped to the fucking nines. My hair was cut short, and he looked at me, and he goes, then he looked at the family. He didn't say nothing to me. He looked at me, he turned around, he looked at the family, went, I liked him better when he was all hairy and fat. What the fuck? That's brilliant. So, I mean, I'm lucky to be part of an amazing family. My wife's mother, Joyce, who was no longer with us, and I hate that phrase, has been featured in so many stories, the window screen story, all these things come full circle. She did the coolest thing for birthdays, because the family gets big, and you just can't fucking afford birthdays. You just fucking can't. So throughout however many years, she put like $5 or $10, I think it was $10 in a birthday card, religiously. Didn't miss anybody. And with a little wrinkle that was fun, you had to buy yourself something with that money, and she wanted to know what it is. So I took, it's around here somewhere, I don't want to get it. It's called a writing bag for me. It's a black backpack. I kicked in like $2 extra, and so that's like very special to me. That's the writing bag from the $10. So it's the thought that counts right there. So that's fantastic. I learned so much from this woman and her family. I know if you read in between the lines, you could say, well, you learned how to be a cheap prick. No, I learned that you can do some magic shit for teeny tiny small amounts of money. And the one thing that I'm happy about, see, my wife is one of 4 sisters that I call the Bornman babes. They are a force to be reckoned with. They're like you don't want to fuck with the Bornman babes. And I'm thrilled that my wife didn't pick up some of her mother's sharper, more finely honed qualities, which I myself would love to have. Because when we were going way back now, we're going way back. These aren't birthday stories. Again, these are stories of my life with this amazing woman. I'm over at her house, and I'm looking at her calendar, right? And I'm leafing through it, which is a nosy fuck of me, but we're March, and I'm leafing through it, and it was full, weekends, nights, everything, unfucking believable. And I could talk to Joyce at that point, you know, like when you're new, you can't really talk to your future mother-in-law, but I said, Joyce, this calendar of yours is busier, I believe, than any president that's ever lived. Like, even presidents have, like, fucking days off to golf and shit. She didn't skip a beat. She said, the ones in pen are real. The ones in pencil I made up to get rid of Clyde. Clyde was a creepy guy that was trying to date her and all that shit after her second husband had passed away. That's fucking brilliant. That is the genius. That you could sit here with a bourbon, and then she did. When you go over there, and she'd be sitting at the table, and she'd be writing. Nobody fucking asked her what she was doing. She was filling in the calendar for the entire year to get rid of Clyde. And then if she changed her mind, she could just, you know, erase the shit. So that's badass. That's genius. Look at. All right, I'm gonna do this. Wait, I'll put this on. This will be like intermission. I'm going to unplug this motherfucker. Let's see. Plug this fucker back in. Let's see if that worked. Did we unfreeze me? No?
I think you're back.
We think I'm back.
I think
so.
I can hear you.
Well, you should have been able to hear me the whole time. But can you see me? Can you see me moving my arms? Okay, everything is fine, and now this is pointless and silly that I'm doing this. So back to the story where her mother used to play fun little tricks on me. And she asked me if I could pick this bag up for a grocery bag, and she was so disgusted. She said, would you just please pick this bag up for me? I feel so old and useless that I can't even pick up a bag. And just before whatever, please be careful that you don't hurt your back. Yeah, that's why I lift it myself, but it's so darn heavy. I'm old and this is so frustrating. But just please, I'm begging you, please be careful, because I wouldn't want you to hurt your back picking up this heavy bag. So I went over, and I had been working out because I'm all fucking ripped to the nines now, and I've got my hair cut and all this and that shit. And I prepared to lift a heavy thing like you do, and there was nothing in the bag, like a fucking feather. And I picked it up, and I almost fucking stuck in the roof. I went right the fuck through there. So I'm actually thrilled that my wife didn't have that thing in her to torment me. Well, it might happen soon. Somebody texted me. It's probably, I've got some people that text me that tell me that I'm frozen. And that's Stein. Let's see. Okay. This is Sarah and Stein are watching, and they say happy birthday to Mrs. Comic over there. And that's fantastic. See, that's what we're doing here. This is supposed to be a birthday show. I mean, so far, there's not been, I didn't have her blow out the candles or nothing. So, I'm unfrozen, so that's kind of incredible. So, back to me, because it's her birthday, but it's all about me and this fucking snowball mic. I shouldn't have this. Toast? We're having a toast to Mrs. Comic. Happy birthday. This is more technology than I should have, but our son, the immense genius computer whiz who writes code for people he tells them what code to use. I can't even talk to him. I just send him stupid shit. He's that fucking smart. He gets all kinds of equipment to test it. And this is a fucking badass, state-of-the-art, streaming podcast microphone that he just fucking texts me. He said, would you have any use for this streaming mic since you're streaming? Sure, send it up. I've had this thing for 2 fucking years and I haven't been able to figure it out. And finally I did a test run this week and it didn't work, and I had to go into fucking Streamlabs and change all the settings. So it's working now. And then as soon as this works, then the stream fucking freezes up. And so it seems like it's my birthday if you think about it. I got this snowball mic here. And more stories. I got the Nan story here. Okay, now wait a minute. Let's see. Bibbity bobbity boo. All right. Oh, this is this is very personal to my wife. Okay, so 18, 19, 20 years old. I'm somewhere in there. All those who corrupted me, with the exception of Clee. This is important, Clee, sister. Clee was running either off to college or he'd been at college, and I was wandering around this town like a lost hippie, and I had a little gaggle of friends, 6 or 8 people, and they partied hard all the time. And I had to walk through their party to get to my lovely wife, not yet wife, girlfriend's house, and they goaded me to join their party. But you've seen Mrs. Comic. I mean, you would walk through a party to go be with Mrs. Comic. That's a slam dunk right there. But they worked on me, and that was probably at least a year that went on, maybe close to 2. Every fucking night, like clockwork, I'd work and I'd come and I'd walk. I could walk to her house, so that was amazing. I said, "Come on, you don't have to be with her every night. Just party it up, man." I didn't fucking budge one time. What is significant about that? A, it makes me a good boyfriend, and B, they all got fucking arrested because they were partying with an undercover cop. And I'm sorry to laugh at that, but hanging out with this beautiful hippie girl and not going to jail? Let's see. I don't really need to use a lifeline there. I think I'll pick beautiful girlfriend who will wind up being my wife. Sorry, I didn't hang out. If I would have stayed one fucking night in that party, they had a party van. If I would have went in there one fucking night, this live stream would not be happening. And this snowball microphone would have been sent off to some fucking strange man sitting in my house right now with my wife. And I don't know what the fuck he's doing. So that's how I'm a big fan of, I'm really babbling here. It's not even bourbon related, but I'm a big fan of loving what I have in my life, like so incredibly. And I get, my nerves get struck a little when people say, you really have to learn to appreciate your wife. Fuck you, you don't know nothing about me. I really love my life. I love my wife. I love my family so much. And I forgot where that was leading. That was actually going somewhere. Now we'll have to sit here. Maybe some more bourbon will clear my head. Oh, I like to connect all the dots of how I got where I am and how I have the most perfect woman in the world for me. Because if one thing goes wrong somewhere, we don't meet. I mean, she's connected to Hall of Fame, Twins announcer Halsey Hall, and moving around the country and all this and that. And if one thing doesn't happen, if I don't cut that fucking cord out there, possibly none of this would have happened. And before we actually had a date, it was all goo-goo eyes in the town. We're just walking around, and she'd drive by, and then she'd throw it back at me, and I'm like, I have absolutely no idea how to stalk someone pre-internet. You need a phone number, even if you go to, I fucking had nothing. I'm a little foggy as to how that even happened, but so a lot of shit had to happen for us to happen. When I finally got a chance to talk to her and ask her out on a date, I was so excited, and then my fucking car broke down. I'm like, oh, this is so fucking bad. This thing is fucking doomed. And the car was getting fixed in a garage in Emmaus, which closes 6 o'clock. And I went down there fucking 6:05, and that fucking door was locked, and my fucking car was in there. And I had to call her up and say, this is a bad first date, but I don't have a car. I guess we'll have to just do it another night. And then she said, well, you can just come over if you want. Fucking win. fucking win. That's a dream come true. Anybody's first date and you're going to a movie, going out to dinner, and something goes wrong, and you go, just come over. That's the whole plan, is to come over. All that other shit is to get to come over. I get to skip all that shit. I get to skip all the movies and the dinners, and it's good because I don't have any fucking money. We just like hanging out, and that's what we do now. We're actually in a zone close to how when we met. We've just hung out. We're hippies and enjoying. Well, we didn't stream live then, obviously, but so. That's kind of incredible to me. That one little turn the wrong way, and that's it. And so here's to my beautiful wife. She's really racking up the birthday credits for when money returns again. Well, let's see here. Let's see. Oh, I know. There's a good thing I made notes. So before that first date, we were still in the goo eyes thing in the town here, and in case you don't know, before you could text and before you could Facebook and MySpace and all that shit, you had to just walk around in the world where you think the person that you wanted to see was going to be, or drive past. So ultimately, I had some friends that were girls that were not girlfriends, and concert buddies. And so I took a concert buddy to see Heart, and this might have been Symphony Hall. It was Symphony Hall. So I'm still trying to get with Gorgeous over there, and Gorgeous over there goes to the Heart concert with her sister, and I'm with what appears to be a date. So somehow I successfully managed to convey to her with her sister that this girl that I was with was not my girlfriend, but just a concert buddy. And I believe I was as extreme as when she saw me, looked over, we recognized, because we were doing the Google Eyes flirting, and I probably threw my arms up like this, away from the girl, and leaned, and then what you don't know at the time is that she actually knew about you. And I think she said, "Is that her?" I'm there, "Yes, that's her. So back off another fucking step here, so you don't want to fuck me up." So it's that fragile. It's that fragile. She could have seen me and said, "Oh, that motherfucker, he's got a girlfriend, a two-time a motherfucking rat bastard motherfucker." That's the beauty of her. She gives people the benefit of the doubt, and I do not. I'm the evil force here, and I'm trying to corrupt her a little bit and try to see the bad in people a teeny little bit. So, I mean, the stories just go on and on and on and on and on. That's the Heart concert. Boom, roasted. Let's see here. All right. So that on the ground here. Let's see. Oh, and that actually goes back to the cats that are now in my life. Okay, so you're going to get a lot of rerun stories here. So my wife was in the process of the divorce. She lived with her mother, who wound up being like my best friend besides my wife. Go figure. In the town, and I needed a gift for her, or I didn't need a gift. I was tasked with taking care of a feral cat that was abandoned by a couple that split up, and somehow I was tasked with going in to visit this cat and feed it. And it was a little sad because there was nobody in this apartment, and I just took this fucking cat and I just gave it to my wife and her kids. And so that was amazing, and that's how I learned that I was allergic. And that's how I learned if you have no money and you have a girlfriend and you can go out and catch a feral cat and give it to her, it's usually a really big hit. I was totally allergic. I hadn't planned on falling in love with her, and I was allergic to cats. And so then when we moved in together, the fucking cat that I got rid of by giving it to the girl who had the kids, who I didn't think would last with me, because why the fuck would that work out? The cat moved in with the lady and the 3 kids. That's fucking nuts right there. So that's one of my feral cat stories here. Okay. Oh, let me give you a little. Instead of roasting my wife, I'll tell you what's kind of amazing about her. Okay, so my wife is afraid of things appropriately. She's not going to be out in the world and be a victim because she knows there's some scary shit out there. Doesn't live in terror. Strong, confident woman. It's part of the Born and Babed Club. She would not want to drive to New York City. If she had to, she could, probably. But she might also scream and find a hotel or whatever. So that's my specialty. I can drive to New York with the fucking best of them. I've driven my wife and daughter and others to New York 3-4 times a week when it called for that. But once we're in the city, I am lost. I could actually tell somebody how to drive to New York from the Lehigh Valley, as far as even what lanes to be in and all that shit. But once I'm in the city, it's the New York is a grid, and the buildings are big, and I just fucking get turned around, and I'm dyslexic and OCD and MOUSE. I am fucking lost. I can get lost just walking out of a coffee shop that we've been in. But my wife comes to life in the city. She's at home there. She knows where things are. She knows how to hail cabs. She knows. It's incredible. And the other place she's really at home and feels really good is out in the woods. When we go out camping, and that's the thing too, she had a very nice family structure in life, and they went camping and they did family stuff and vacation. I didn't have none of that shit. So she'd always told me, well, when I was little, we went to New York and we stayed overnight. So mostly everything that was part of her youth, I tried to do for us and our daughter as best I could. Camping, I was fucking against that. I mean, it took me how many years to get electric, and then we'll go out in the woods and live in tents without electric and fucking rough, and I'm like, yeah, tent camping is fun in theory, but it's a lot of fucking work, and especially if you go and you gotta lug shit in from the car down to the campsite, and then when you eat, then you got to tie everything up and put it up in the fucking trees so the bears don't. It's a lot of fucking work to do this. And then we discovered cabins. If you like the outdoors, World's End State Park, amazing cabins. They're in the fucking woods. They're right by the water. There's fun. There's a little bit of swimming, but there's rocks. It's just absolutely fucking incredible. I love it there, but I get afraid of shit, right? And I'm also an idiot. So I'll tell you what it is, Cabin 7, that's the one we loved. It was in the corner, it was private, the water was down there, a trail went down there, and right behind this little yard behind the cabin was a little cliff that you couldn't really see, and I took a piece of ring bologna and just tossed it over the fucking side. And then the next day I looked, and the ring bologna peel that's on there, whatever ate the bologna, peeled it. Fucking peeled. It turned out it was a raccoon with manners. So I start throwing pieces of bologna against everybody telling me not to do it, just so I could watch the raccoon peel a bologna, and I actually got to watch that. Now the side effect of this is that when the bologna stops, other animals can smell where the bologna was, and they don't all have manners like the raccoon does. So we're sitting there one night, and that's when I started fucking reading by the fire, and a nice bourbon. I was reading, and it's dark, and a fucking skunk came up the raccoon hill looking for bologna from me. Somehow they associated the bologna smell with me. I was in fucking terror. I was fucking screaming and going nuts. My wife went and got pots and pans and banged them at the skunk. I'm like, are you out of your fucking mind? That thing's gonna fucking get me, and it's gonna fucking blast me. There's this woman over here scared a fucking skunk away for me. She saved her cowardly husband from the skunk with fucking pots and pans. So that's where we're at here. She's some kind of something happens to her in the woods, and something happens to her in New York City, where she becomes a ferocious but awesome power of fun. It's just so much fun. And the crazy thing to me about that is New York City and out in the woods are two of the scariest fucking places that anybody could possibly go. So my wife picked these two opposite but scary places to become a warrior. So I have all the bases covered. I bring my warrior with me to New York. I bring my warrior with me out in the woods. And I'm also a creature of habit. Driving to New York City is tough. Richter will tell you, and the more you do it, the better you get at it. And by that, however time when our daughter was growing up, and then I did it to myself. I'm all over the railroad tracks here. Our daughter was, I'm guessing at the age, maybe 11, 12, somewhere in there. We just rode around and listened to show tunes. And then sometimes my wife would say, I'm going to stay home and read. I was driving around, listening to show tunes, and it must have been like 2.5, almost 3 hours that we were going. We were having fun. And then I said, oh my God, 3 hours went by. I said to our daughter, I could have driven us to New York in 2 hours. And our daughter said, okay. So then I started fucking driving us to New York all the time to see shit. And then again, Mrs. fucking Awesome over there. When I talk about all the Broadway shows we've seen, it makes me sound rich. This woman over here found something called TDF. It's the Theater Development Fund. With TKTS, that's the discount ticket booth in Times Square. This is an online version of that for industry people only. Show business people, school teachers, veterans. It's very niche as to who they'll accept. Somehow, once I quit my day job and became full-time stand-up comedian, I qualified for this thing. And it's like the lottery. You log in to see what shows are up, and you're filling seats, and you can get Broadway tickets for $28, $30 a pop. You just don't know where you're sitting. Well, it's a fucking theater in New York. Even the shitty seat is $100 up in the fucking sky. We saw fucking everything, and since you don't really know what's going to be on there, we could go to a show tonight and say, I'm fucking tired. I don't want to drive to New York tomorrow. And we go, Motherfucker with a Hat. And that's the name of the show. Motherfucker with a Hat was playing. Chris Rock was in a play with Bobby Cannavale. Now, we all know about the slap. Chris Rock just got slapped. Chris Rock is very little. He is a very small man, stature-wise. I mean, he probably had to look up to say hello to my wife. And Bobby Cannavale could be a stunt wrestler. He's like a fucking football player. And in the play, it was very serious, scary play, and they fought on stage. Stage fighting is fucking really horrible. It's the worst you can ask of an actor is to try to stage fight. And two so mismatched people, and somehow Chris Rock wins the fight in the play. And so my daughter and I are really laughing because it was comical to watch the Hulk Hogan-sized Bobby Cannavale wrestling the little 10-year-old kid and then losing somehow. So we were laughing, and it was supposed to be a sad part of the scene. So when Chris Rock just got slapped by Will Smith, I was really worried for him because somebody said he could have died, and they go, oh, don't be ridiculous. I'm like, no, that's serious, man. He could have really fucking died. So a lot of these shows, too, we know if I will like them, if our daughter will like them, if my wife will like them. If she has such an incredible imagination, if the show is too real and too scary, it's better to leave her home, right? It's better to leave her home. And she's fine with it. That's amazing. Or she'd come along and walk around New York City by herself while me our daughter were at a show, and sometimes it would just be our daughter, and then me and her would walk around. That's fucking balls to the walls to walk around New York City, a woman, hot-looking woman, with confidence. She'd fucking march all around and tell us about her adventures, and that's badass. And then sometimes, because we had this TDF thing with the cheap seats, and things would be on all the time, we would go test it. My daughter and I, we would go test a show, and within 38 seconds, we would know if she should see this show or not. One of the shows, and we started to know all these people from Broadway, Spring Awakening, all these kids we got to be friends with, they all went in different shows. One of these shows, Jonathan Groff, he was in Hair, he's in a, what's that? It's not Criminal Minds, Mindhunter, Netflix. Jonathan Groff, we could be friends with him. He was in this play, and the off-Broadway stuff, the theaters are always really small and awesome, and so you're really in there, and you really feel like you're part of it. The opening scene of the play is set in a hotel room, and not Jonathan Groff, but someone else in the play. The play starts with we're behind the kid in a hotel room, and he's watching porn. He rented a porn film in the hotel, and he's jerking himself off to start. And then my daughter and I were like, that was the signal for like she was never going to. It was pointless to see. So we tested out a whole lot of shit like that, and she's hit some incredible. So you gotta understand this about my woman is that whatever she has, she would give to me before she would take it for herself. So, American Idiot, musical, on Broadway. That's the Green Day musical. We knew people from the cast because it was from Spring Awakening and from Hair, and we knew these kids so well that Lizzie and I were up in New York. She used to go up for auditions. She was up for an audition, so then there's a lot of time to fill because there's a callback in 6 hours. So we were walking past the theater where American Idiot was rehearsing because it wasn't open yet. And the Spring Awakening kids were so happy to see us, they ran over and they opened the doors and they left us in. And then everybody who's important came and said, no, you can't just let in the fucking werewolf into a closed, we didn't even fucking open yet. And they said, well, he brings us candy. And then it sounded really fucking bad. It's amazing I didn't get fucking arrested. So the moral of that story is that Broadway is tricky in those days. When something was really good, you had to see it before it was known that it was good. And they do workshop shows, previews they're called. They might run previews for 8 or 9 shows before they open. So if you could get tickets to a preview before there were good reviews, you could get them cheap and you could go. And the struggle of Broadway is that right after January, right after New Year's, tickets plummet, and that's when shows fucking close. And if they didn't win a Tony Award, they didn't win this, they didn't win that, they fucking close. So American Idiot, the Green Day musical, when it hit January and it was going to close, the actual Green Day guy, Billy Joe Armstrong, who fucking loved what they presented. And that's a fun... There's a documentary on Amazon Prime. Check it out. It's American Idiot. It's fantastic. So he went in the show during the slow season for a few weeks so they wouldn't have to fucking close. That's fucking badass. And he plays a role. The show has a guy who's in trouble, and he has like an alter ego that we all can see, but it's like a Jekyll and Hyde thing. It's like, and so he comes out as a kind of a voice behind another voice, and it's the evil, we're going to fuck our lives up, man. We're going to fucking smoke dope and then fucking shoot heroin and fucking kill and all this and that shit. And people went nuts. When he was announced to be in the show, it fucking sold out in a fucking run for him, sold out in a fucking heartbeat. But they had lottery, and that's more fun. So you go up there and you toss your name in, and they pull out like 12 names, and each person can buy like 2 fucking tickets for $25 to sit in the fucking front, right? Okay, so we couldn't get tickets, so we went up when the Green Day guy was in, and my wife won the Green Day guy, Billy Joe Armstrong, lottery, and she gave her ticket to me. So it was going to be me and our daughter going in, and I'm like, this is too good of a gift. And besides that, I think Billy Joe Armstrong would rather see beautiful Mrs. Comic in the front row with our beautiful teenage daughter than to roll around, because he rolls all around, sluts all around, than me. So somehow I got a ticket behind a post for like $47. So they were fucking in there. And although she stays home a lot, when she'd go fucking big. So she got to see Billy Joel Armstrong, like from here to right fucking there, rolling all around. That is fucking incredible. Then there was another one of those where Al Pacino was starring in Shakespeare in the Park, and those tickets were fucking completely impossible. And again, my wife and daughter somehow they either won a lottery or something. So then I was the odd man out, and I was walking all around, and I went and treated myself to Indian food in the restaurant because I'm feeling sorry for myself because everybody's seeing fucking Al Pacino in the park except for me. And this head is recognizable. Now we're at the stage where it's internet and there's phones, and a couple was eyeballing me, right? Then they asked me if I was in theater, and I said, no, I'm a stand-up comedian, and they totally didn't fucking believe me. So my wife and daughter are in Shakespeare in the Park watching Al Pacino, and I'm in an Indian restaurant with my cell phone, and I'm loading in my own fucking fan page on the phone to show this couple who didn't believe that's who I was, and I held this up and I showed it to them, and they're there, wow, that's amazing. And then they knew all about the show, and they had a friend who was in the show, but they still couldn't get into the fucking show. Again, my stories have no real point or an end to them. So, but what we did, my wife, a lot of times, but when she really hit shit, she really got to see some cool shit. Here's another good one. I think I already told that one. Never mind that one. I was going to tell the Spring Awakening Tom Holtz. Oh, yeah, I just, see, I told shit on the podcast that I don't know what night it is, that I think now I told you, Peckerheads, I mean it in a nice way, but I didn't. So, Spring Awakening, great story. We had shitty cars to drive to New York. That's a bad thing to do. So, Lizzie and I were going up to see Spring Awakening for the first time, and a car broke down. If Richter, if you're listening, we had a soft top Jeep Wrangler, dumbest fucking vehicle to drive to New York, and it fucking broke down in the scary hotel district, and I had to go into a little market there and buy 300 gallons of water so I could keep pouring it into the radiator in increments of 10 miles all the fucking way home. And halfway home, our daughter was crying. I'm like, it's fine. We'll get, it's really annoying, but we'll be okay. And she said, I'm not worried about getting home. I'm just sad we're missing the show. I'm like, oh, we'll take the bad car up tomorrow. Which we did. We took the bad car up the next day. And that became a fun story to tell the Spring Awakening people, that we went up and then, so, but again, we got our tickets really fucking cheap all the time. So I'm talking about $28, $30, whatever. And that's her over there, man. She found us. And then we found something else, Theater Mania Gold, where we were seat fillers, and that's like $65 a year, and you are charged. That's really tough to get into shows there. They're trying to fill in theaters that are off Broadway and off Broadway. And we went, I can't remember the name of the show, but it was $4, and we all three of us were going, and it was the longest, most horrible play. At Lincoln Center it was. It never fucking ended, and it was like 3 acts long, and each act was actually longer than the one before, than this was known. It was in the fucking program. And you can't see, that's the deal. You can't leave. We were held hostage at the Lincoln Center because of Theater Mania Gold on our fucking $4 tickets. You can lose your membership because you are there to fill seats, so the stars that are in the show aren't embarrassed by empty seats. So we saw a lot of shitty shows that we wanted to leave that we fucking couldn't. So the intermission happened. I'm ready to lose my mind. I'm trying to convince us we'll just leave and it'll be okay and they won't throw us out of Theater Mania. I lost that, and so I chugged 2 fucking expensive beers in the lobby. Then I had to go pee. Then I came back and it was time to go in. And my wife goes, "You missed it." "What do you mean I missed it? The show didn't even start." And she goes, "No, Rosie Perez, the actress, is here, and she spilled the fucking vodka and cranberry all over fucking everybody. Like, and nobody gave a fuck because it was like Rosie Perez. Like, if you spill a drink, what's your fucking problem?" And it's like, "Oh, Rosie Perez, if you would like to spill, I would like to buy you a drink to spill on me." So she got to fucking see the best thing about that show that I fucking missed. So there was that. Highlight of the show, and I fucking missed it. Okay, so now this goes back to, I'm so glad I have notes. As I said, driving up to New York is an art form, and Lincoln Tunnel, we're Lincoln Tunnel all the way. The traffic patterns changed, but back when we were going, right through the toll booth, when you're starting to get close to traffic that gets you to the tunnel, you got to keep going left, keep going left, keep going left, and then keep going left. That's the way I knew our tour guide for New York was home. My wife sent our daughter a text and said, "Where you are going, Joe's Pub in the Village, Soho, somewhere in there around New York University, the Washington Park is there, all this stuff. Where you are going, it's probably," and she'd never say do this, she'd just put it in my head, "it might be," that's how you say it, "it might be a good idea to try the Holland Tunnel," which I had never fucking been in my entire life, never. So our daughter convinced me this was a good idea. Plus, I trust my wife. So if she says a thing, she wouldn't, you got to understand this, she would never suggest that if she wasn't a fucking 1,000% sure, and she would never sell it to me as 1,000% sure. She would have to be 1,000% sure to present it as a possibility. So I'm ADDing, OCDing about switching tunnels because it's unfamiliar territory. That's the thing I say when I'm up there and we're going someplace. It calms my nerves. It upsets everyone else in the car. Unfamiliar territory, unfamiliar territory, unfamiliar territory. Then they got to fucking settle me down and tell me the lanes. And our daughter has a great thing she says on those trips. She says, "The lane you want is not this one." Then I know to get out of the fucking lane I'm in. It doesn't even really matter where I am. So I'm losing my fucking mind. The Holland Tunnel was white and clean compared to the other shitty, horrible tunnel. So that was kind of amazing and creeped me out a little bit. But it was absolutely perfect to get us into that show. So that's amazing. So think about that for a minute. The selflessness of a woman who is not going to the Broadway show, who stays home and figures out a better way for us to go fucking see it. That's badass. I just spilled bourbon. A cat will enjoy that later. So that's badass. And so that's another cool place. This is the stuff that I miss. Joe's Pub is in the Village, and it has a theater right connected to it. The public theater's there. Hamilton started there. Whole bunch of shit gets workshopped there. Bloody Andrew Jackson. That's another fucking fantastic show. And I have a Broadway story about that. It has nothing to do with her birthday. But that's really like we're bands. People that are in Broadway shows that have bands, and a lot of them do, they have a band. This is a place that will host Broadway performers, personal bands on whatever night their show is. So we've seen all kinds of fucking cool shit there. We saw the guy from hair, and he was they were doing actually music from hair to, it was like a hippie night, and it was so much fun, and they just won a Tony Award, and the guy was singing a song from his own show that they just won a Tony Award for, and he forgot the lyrics. So I can identify with that shit. He goes, I sing this song 8 fucking times a week on a Broadway stage, and now it's just fucking gone. So we've been like so blessed to see some amazing stuff. So this goes back to how fucking great it was to see Sparks, because I am fucking spoiled rotten. And the cheap tickets for Spring Awakening, for $28, you could sit on the stage. Fucking incredible. And that's how we got to be friends with her. So we saw this show too many times, and our daughter pursuing a career in theater, it's actually good to see a thing a lot of times from different angles to get perspective. And then people come in, and the cast just knew us, and they'd be excited because a lot of them were understudies. There was like a ensemble. They'd sit with us on stage and pretend they were audience, and they'd be all excited. Gerard would go, I'm going to be Mort Stiefel. That's the star of the show, Gallagher, on Tuesday. You guys have to come. No concept of money at all, this kid. And we like him. So Gerard wants us to come see him as Mort Stiefel fucking Tuesday. So, pow, we would fucking do it. So that stuff made it seem like we were rich, but again, it was all the finding the tickets, and the wife was to just fucking go, you two just go, and just the Spring Awakening stories are absolutely incredible. So this was an edgy show. It was, but German kids, very strict. Boys went to this school, girls went to that school. Pregnancy before marriage is fucking scandalous. It was a rock thing, but it was also amazing. A song in it called "Totally Fucked," and the band's up there on stage, and then so we got to be friends with the band, and George, the bass player, had taken it upon himself to count how many times I went to see this fucking show. So we'd walk in and we'd sit down, and the band wasn't out yet, and they'd come out, and then he'd pick up his bass guitar, and he'd just look over at me, and he'd be like, wait, where is it? There it is. Then I'd nod, 6, and he'd be good, and then I think once we hit like fucking 19, we fucking lost him. So that story leads us to another story where these were Broadway musicians playing rock music. So they're having a ball. Trey Files was the drummer. Broadway drummer, could play any kind of whatever the fuck it is in life. It's just absolutely incredible. We were big fans of Steve Reich, who is the drumming version of Philip Glass. And so when we talked to him, and we said we'd seen Steve Reich perform drumming and music for 18 musicians, he was so fucking jealous. So we were going to, I don't know how we found out about it. They were workshopping something in upstate New York, Nero, and the one guy from Twin Peaks was in that. And when they workshopped it, they told us it was a secret. They were going to be there all week long, and we were only there for one night. And they made changes, and they said, we don't want you to talk about this at all. This is awesome, because we don't know whatever you see, it might be completely gone if this goes anywhere. So Trey Files is the drummer on this thing. Twin Peaks, if you watch Twin Peaks season 3, it's the Horn brother that's the dope smoker out in the woods. He's in this fucking thing, and they're reading things and they're playing. But we walked in, and since they didn't know what they were doing, and I think it was at a college, Trey Files is on stage, and he is surrounded, because they don't have to have room for the actors because they're just reading out of notebooks. He's surrounded by every percussion instrument known to man, like a virtual museum of percussion, and just completely around him. It looked like a drumming version of like meeting fucking Einstein or Shakespeare in his element. We walked in really early, and we were in awe just of seeing him with his drums. And he looks up and he goes, "Hi guys!" That's fucking hysterical. I mean, that's kind of like an amazing thing. So we have so many amazing stories, and my wife's birthday is connected to a whole bunch of this cool stuff. So I don't know who else. We saw all kinds of people up there. A lot of times we'd be happy when there was understudies, because there was Evita was playing, and there was a big star in it. It might have singing star. It might have been Mark Anthony. It might have been him. My friend Joey Vega opens for him. He's a famous singer. So, and it might have been someone even more famous than that. He wasn't going to be in, so they needed seat fillers. So, $4. So we got to see Evita for $4 because the big star wasn't in. We don't really give a fuck about that. There was also, I peed with Ping. That story is going to be a little hard to connect all the dots. But, so back in my hippie days, which I'm still enjoying them now, we saw all the weirdest shit in New York. Meredith Monk, and we saw Philip Glass, and we saw Laurie Anderson, and we saw all this really crazy shit up there. And one of the things, I can't remember the guy, it might have been John Adams. It was like concert for silent piano. And he sat at a fucking piano, stared at it for 12 minutes. And then people fucking went nuts and fucking clapped. And every kind of fucking weird thing. So the guy's name, I'm going to fuck his name up. Michael Severus, I think is how you say it. He's in shit. Like he's in Michael Severance.
No, Severus.
Severus.
Severance.
Michael. Okay, so but I'm thinking an older show. He's in what's the alternate one? The alternate universe, Fringe. He's in Fringe. He's a watcher. He's got a kind of a cool, bold, creepy thing going on. I was looking at his credits, and we were going to see him in Sweeney Todd, and that was scary as all hellfire, because to start the show, he's in a coffin. Then you don't know he's in there to start the fucking show. And we got these good seats in the front. And when we first saw it, he popped out and fucking scared the motherfucking shit out of us. And we was going over the credits. And Michael Severus was in a Meredith Monk piece that we saw when we were hippie kids. And that was a kind of a performance art piece. And he was just starting out, ensemble, whatever. And the director of that show was Ping Chong, and he was big enough for Michael Severus to put it in his credits, right? So I noticed all this, and then when we stage doored him, I said, this show, Meredith Monk, Ping Chong, that you were in, we saw that. We didn't have a daughter then yet, but we saw it. He was fucking blown away. And I said, well, that's not the interesting part of the story, because we didn't know who you were, but the theater was small, and the director, Ping Chong, I peed with Ping Chong. In the urinals, there was only two, and then there was me peeing, and there was Ping Chong peeing, and I asked him if he was Ping Chong. I didn't ask if he was peeing, because I knew he was peeing, and it was Ping Chong. And the funny part of that story is, later on, I would go on to write comedy that men don't talk to each other in the men's room, except for me when I'm peeing with Ping. So yes, I told Michael Severus, who's in, is it new one, Severance? It's a great show. I think it's called Severance. He's in that, or he's in something, and he's in, what's the one we said it was? Fringe. He's in all these things. I told him that I peed with Ping Chong. That's the important thing to know about this story. And so many of these things are connected to my amazing wife either giving me information or helping us see things. Or so now back to Spring Awakening. So Spring Awakening was a thing that people were trying to shut down because it was one of the few shows that had a rating on it, rated for sexual contact. They simulated sex, and you only saw the guy's ass, but they did a really good job of it, and they had him on a platform, and people were just like, it was very controversial. A fantastic fucking show, Spring Awakening, and there was like a big opening, and they were starting to get some steam, and we had already seen it a bunch of times, and the press was there, and the TV cameras, and the producers were there, all these fucking big shots were there. The music guy, he has a hit single, the Barely Breathing guy, I am barely breathing. That guy, he wrote this music, and a producer, Tom Holtz, who is Mozart, Amadeus Mozart, and he's also the kid in Animal House who gets laid on the football field. He growed up, and he's a producer in this thing. So we come out of this thing, and we're big fans of the show, and we love it. And they were trying to stir up some shit, and they went to my wife, and they said, well, how do you like the show? I really like it. How do you feel about the explicit sexual content here with the young children? And my wife's like, I'm not going to talk to you assholes. And she just fucking blew them away. She knew, she could figure out what they were fucking up to, and she said, fuck you and a bucket of goo, I'll have none of it. So now, this is the show where I bribe the kids with candy because it sounds bad, but a producer, Pun, he's another one. Pun was a producer, and he's also an actor. You can see him in all kind of different stuff. We went to see, I'll have to spin back to the Spring Awakening story, because we saw Pun in a very serious play about, it might be something heart, true heart. It was people about AIDS, and they were dying. It was such a sad and edgy play. And in that play, he plays, he's just almost like an extra, but he was a medical guy with the electric boomers, and he said it, and when people are screaming and going nuts and crying in the theater, however he delivered his line, got a big laugh. And I teased him there, was that supposed to be funny? He said, no, I don't even know why it's funny. You're the comedian, tell me why it's funny. I don't know, I just fucking laughed. But he had to change how he did those fucking blasters. So now, we got invited backstage, Lizzie and I, to Spring Awakening, kind of Pun taught me how to talk to these kids and shit. They don't want to be called their stage name and all that. We sent them fucking boxes of candy, and I cartooned the show, and I sent up this box of candy, and right before Lizzie and I were going to have stage seats, and I warned them we were coming in, and they opened up the candy box, and they were all fucking cartooned, penny candy and all kinds of shit. And then, of course, my face was in there, and I told them specifically when we were coming, and they got the candy and all that shit. And then the show starts, and the actors that are in the show pretending to be audience, they come in, and they're sitting down, and they come in, and the first act happens, right, and everything goes, and then it's intermission, and then the girl who was in the show, who was on the stage next to us, said, right, and they're ready to start. It starts fast. They march out with their school books, and they're all in trouble. They're marching out, right? They're marching out, and she turns to me and says, everybody's really excited that you two are here, and they want to thank you for the candy, so we'd like to invite you backstage after the show if you're not busy. And the show started. We couldn't even fucking go nuts or anything. And then the German kids coming out they had to come out because they were in fucking trouble. So they came out real serious, and they marched, and one of them looked up at me and he went, thanks for the candy. And so we get to be good friends with them. And so when we go to shows to see Spring Awakening again, they rotated who was on stage sometime, and at a real quiet, serious part, there is death. The audience is crying. It's so sad. Brian from the show, who would later on go to try to let me into American Idiot when he wasn't allowed to, punched me hard in the fucking knee, pow, right before the sad part, and I couldn't fucking cry or go nuts or nothing. So I'm noticing that a lot of these stories don't really have anything to do with my wife's birthday. But she hooked me up with this TDF stuff and getting cheap seats and all that. Let's see here. Oh! More about how amazing my wife is here. So now we're going back to the very early days. Lizzie hasn't been born yet, I don't think. And her kids that became my kids were growing up. And my tech whiz, also who is in the Philippines, Scott, he came over and we were watching Hellraiser with the Pinhead, which is really probably my wife's worst nightmare. We all fell asleep and she stayed up to watch Pinhead Hellraiser with Scott. So she was worried he'd be watching this thing alone. Now, we get to be really good friends with them, and then however many years later, sadly, his father died, and he came back over for the funeral, and then that's when he found out about Hellraiser, and he didn't know, so he gave her a hug. He couldn't fucking believe that she did this for him, so she got a hug like 20 fucking years later for staying up with Hellraiser. That's probably not the greatest birthday story, but it's still pretty badass. So I got notes here that are mixed in from my TikTok bourbon ball shit. And let's see. More wife stories. Wife, what would you like the fans to know about you?
Well, I was going to tell Susan that Mark taught you how to draw in cartoon and give you the confidence to do it.
Oh, that's fantastic. So, and that's right, because Clee's sister's in the house, and I had already mentioned to you, Clee's sister, that these stories were connected to my wife. You also have to understand, too, this goes way back to Clee being my right-hand man, my best friend in the whole world. These are people who wouldn't typically embrace me dating someone with 3 kids who's just going through a horrible divorce. Clee fucking loved her. My other friend, he loved her. Like, we hugged. It was just, like, so amazing. And yeah, I should have pulled that out. He did a portrait of my lovely wife for me, and then he needed it back, and then he put this creepy little baby kid with a cigarette, which I kind of like. So, he taught me how to draw, and he kind of forced me. I said, I don't know how to draw. He says, nobody knows how to draw. It's a thing you can learn. So he actually taught me how to look at things. And I'm a terrible cartoonist, but proportions are actually pretty good. He told me how to look at a thing and do the proportions right. And this goes back to my wife. So, Clee's sister, much as you and I love Clee, he's an acquired taste. Probably too weird for most people on purpose. Really fun, really awesome, but weird wasn't really popular then. So he was over the top, fun, weird. We all just got along. That's when we had birthday parties on the cemetery for Clee, and this woman over here who really didn't know me that well yet was like, wahoo, let's go party on a cemetery. That's a fucking bold move for her to embrace that. And so that's badass. So we got all kind of good fun Clee stories there. He taught me to draw. He really embraced cartooning. He encouraged things. When our daughter was born, Lizzie, very teeny tiny little, Clee had been traveling around. He might have been out in San Francisco. I don't really remember specific details, but I'm a family man now. The kids are mostly grown up, and our new daughter's here. And Clee, my best friend for so many years, I really wanted him to like my daughter, our daughter. So he came over. I was very nervous about him meeting her. I don't know why. And she loved not cartoons, anything real. animals. We watch every fucking animal show in the whole world. All the animal shows, anything real, and dinosaurs. She loved dinosaurs, and she's very sharp. She actually learned about dinosaurs. Clee loved dinosaurs, so he walks in the front door. My daughter, our daughters, on the carpet in the living room, surrounded by dinosaurs. Clee doesn't even fucking say hello to me. He goes dives right into the floor and starts playing with little dinosaur toys with our daughter Lizzie. So we're like, okay, it looks like they're going to hit it off pretty good. But they also went on then, Clee, now you got me all worked up. Clee, there was a closet that had fucking everything in it and too many coats in the front row, so you couldn't really get to the back of the closet. Clee took all the kids, and well, there must have been a bunch of kids in our house, and this is before Lizzie was born. So the 3 kids that I kind of sort of inherited, they loved Clee as well. Clee took them into the closet downstairs. Went way back. There was like a whole extra little thing, and then it got more narrow back there. It's a place where nobody would go. I tried to crawl in, but I was not allowed because I did not have a membership in the Mark Club. That was the Mark Club, and Mark, it was his club, and he was in there with the kids, and they took pride in throwing me out and say, you don't have a membership card to the Mark Club. And I'm like, well, you don't have membership cards to the Mark Club. You're not qualified to tell us that. And since you're not in the Mark Club, we don't have to show you our Mark Club cards. And I never, ever got in there. I was never allowed. And then our friend Frank came, and then he got membership in the Mark Club. Everybody was fucking allowed in the Mark Club. For me, in fact, I know where that place. I should fucking break into that house tonight. It's just a couple blocks up there, and just say, you, like they do in movies when they knock on the door and say, well, we used to live here, and they go, well, you can't just fucking visit us. I have to. It's very important. I have now finally, because I printed it illegally, I have a membership card to the Mark Club, and I'm sure it's fucking going into the Mark Club tonight. So now back to my wife. I really didn't know how to be a father to 3 kids. I didn't know how to connect with kids. The genius of this woman to just say, really all you got to do is like listen to what they're saying and respond to it. And then I took that a couple notches further, because if there's a thing that you know the kids are going to want to do and they got to beg you to do it, it's the parents' worst fucking nightmare. I want to go to the playground. I want to go to the playground. I want to go to the playground. And the parents go, just fucking quit nagging. We'll go to the fucking playground after the fucking ball game. So I took her idea and I pushed it one further. When nobody knew what to do, I'd be like, let's go to the playground. And they just fucking lose their minds. If you know you're going to wind up there anyway, why not think it up and be the fucking cool parent? So there's that. And then my wife and the Clee stories all connected to run around New York, fun stuff there. I think we were all along. I would wind up in the back seat, and some asshole was driving behind us, and I think Frank was driving, and the guy behind us didn't have his headlights on, and it was creeping us out a little bit because it seemed like he was going to smash into us. And Clee goes, I can get him to turn his headlights on, but I'm like, he held us hostage. He won $10 or something. Like, okay, here you go. So Clee wrote something on a Kleenex box. Well, how he had something to, artists have always, he always had something to write with. That's fucking true. Clee traveled. I have a writing bag. He always had something to write with. So he must have had a Sharpie. He wrote something on the back of a Kleenex box, held it up, and the lights came right on, and the guy didn't beep at us or nothing. We clapped for him. We paid him the $10 ransom fee, and then we wanted to know, what did you write on the bottom of the Kleenex box to get him to turn his headlights on and not want to kill us? And it said, moron lights. that's not really a you birthday story, but still.
Somebody wants to know what you're drinking.
It is bourbon. And it's also the drink that I'm spilling on myself. Alright, so now, since I don't have a lot of good my wife stories, I do, but they're not really fun. Like, they're not roast her stories. Let's go back to her mother and her mother's amazing sense of humor. Her mother's very intelligent, runs in the family. Jeopardy. We watch Jeopardy. If you're like me, I could watch Jeopardy and never get one answer right. Fucking ever. So, my wife's mother, Joyce, would sit there and would watch Jeopardy, me not knowing any answers, and then one would come on and she'd go, "Oh, you know that one." And I never fucking knew one of them, but she made it seem like I actually, and she said, oh, you know that one. And then there's a little fucking pressure there. And I think, apparently it was a thing where she just started dicking with me. And my wife actually left the room now. So that story was kind of mostly in her honor. And when I finally got to a story that was kind of sort of about her in a roundabout kind of way, she's not here. So the other thing that's crazy here is this contraption I have here. Let me tell you about this contraption. Looks like I'm losing power. So now I gotta run. Wait a minute here. Don't anyone go anywhere. I gotta see why this fucking power cable isn't fucking plugged in. Hang on. I know you can hear me. I'm gonna unplug my juice and plug this back in. It seems like I have this multiple thing here, and it seems like I can only have so many things plugged in. You missed a great story, wife. She's back.
I heard it.
Okay, so the power for the MacBook Pro is fading, and it's plugged in. That's the fun thing there. That leads me to believe that it's actually not plugged in. So now I put us on. We'll be right back. I gotta find the plug. I'm not ready for this thing to end. Oh, my ass hits MacBook. Let me see why this thing isn't plugged in. All right, this went so much better at rehearsal. You're in dangerous territory there, woman. I would back out of there quickly if I were you. You are in a fucking danger zone. My wife is awesome, but she's walking around with wires where she shouldn't ought to be. Because there's a maze here of shit that even I can't negotiate. So, also, this would be a great time if anybody's sick of this show and they want to leave. I would fucking leave right now if I were you. Because this is be right back. Oh, I can't figure out. Well, the only other thing we can do here is unplug this. Why the fuck this thing isn't plugged in? See this? Alright, so. Alright, I'm coming back. Alright, so I'm coming back. So somehow my MacBook Pro is plugged in, but it's through this adapter here. And apparently that's not connected. So this adapter that I have can only have like 2 or 3 things that work at one time. And apparently one of them is the electric. So basically I have 25% left on my battery before I have to fucking bail on this thing. Or I could plug it in and then I would either lose my snowball mic or my video camera. So I'm trying to... Let me pull this fucker out here. See, this is the shit. Alright. I'm going to unplug this. Again, so no... Okay, so now that's that. I plug that in. And then that doesn't work. Now I do this. I'm going to unplug... Can't be the fucking outlet because the other shit that's plugged in here, it's working. It can't just be the outlet.
Kevin Keller said, I hope the AC adapter for the laptop isn't dying. He had that happen.
The who what?
AC adapter.
What do you mean the AC adapter's dying?
He said he hopes it isn't.
Kevin Keller, did you just put a fucking curse on my AC adapter? I don't think it's that. Yeah, well, good in theory. Let me try this one thing here. How about that? Did that do anything? Nope, we got 26% power here. Alright, so we got 25% power left on this show. That is really fucking weird. This can't... I'm wondering if this is the wrong plug. If I pull on this... If I pull on my plug, this is what people want to see live, is my crotch getting up to see if what Kevin Keller says about my fucking AC adapter is true. Let's all look at the Amish guy's crotch to see. Oh, I see the fucking problem here right now. Hang on. I'm gonna get this juice back. You watch this, motherfuckers. Here we go. Not you, motherfuckers. You guys are nice. I'm gonna unplug that. Now, this is really what I'm doing now. Now that I think of it, this would make a hell of a TikTok because you don't really have to think much. That's why I'm not a big star on TikTok besides not having a cat, is I overthink shit. People really don't want to think. So, the kind of shit that would sell good on TikTok is an Amish guy is going to plug this in. That's the kind of shit. Well, you gotta see this TikTok, man. There's this fucking Amish guy, right? And he holds electric, and he plugs it in. You wouldn't fucking believe it. Because that's how my podcast went. They couldn't, what are you doing with electric? Why do you have electric? So, I'm gonna do this, and I think this is gonna work. Kevin Keller, I do believe that my... Let's see, it says battery... fuck does it say? Battery preferences. I don't want to use a fucking battery. I want to use power adapter. But that's what they want to see. They want to see me plug shit in. Now, what I thought wrongly was that the extension cord that the AC adapter that Kevin Keller put the fucking curse on, thanks for that, is what was bad was just the cord. But apparently it's not just that. Apparently, now I'm going to unplug this whole thing. I think we got a whole new segment here. The Amish guy, what the fuck's wrong with my electric? So I'm going to unplug this light. It's a smart light. So when I plug it in here, I have to, this shit, I'm going to TikTok this fucking shit because I got to make sure I don't drink any bourbon while I'm plugging in my electric because I won't be able to TikTok it. So now I put that in right there and that didn't work either. So that means power source, battery, I don't want the fucking power source to be, that means Kevin Keller went and put the curse on my AC adapter for my MacBook. So now let's see. Let me click on this. Get ready. If I disappear, it's going to be for a simple reason. It's going to be Kevin Keller's fault because I am forced now to click on Restore Defaults. So I'm doing that. I am now down to 23%. His battery source. I don't know why I have it plugged in now because let me put on my old man reading glasses because I think it would be really fun to spend the last 23% of power that I have trying to see if I can fucking plug this thing in. Now up there, power adapter. That's what that says. No, that's the wrong. No, that's very nice of you, but that's old technology there, woman.
Okay.
Let's see. All right, so now let's do this. All right. I'm going to lose everyone if I do that. I know what I'll do. This isn't going to work. You're going to lose me, but not the audio. You're going to lose the video. I'm going to be gone. Let's see if that works. Did I come back? Okay, here's the situation.
I think Tommy Wiseau did it.
Tommy Wiseau did it, is damn right. Okay, so now what happened is this. What we have discovered here is quite simple. Power adapter. Okay, so good news, Kevin Keller. The curse that you put on me is on this adapter. And it's not the AC adapter for the MacBook Pro. And that's a big fucking relief to me because it's the adapter, because the MacBook Pro has all these teeny little fucking plugs. Let me show you. Oh no, I can't because I unplugged my camera. So now, let's see if I can get that. There's no fucking way that's going back in. If I unplug this, all right, what we can do is we can just listen to me while the MacBook Pro charges up again, and then when it's charged up good enough, I can plug that back in to there, and then I can plug the camera back in on there. So there, the camera should come back. All right, camera came back, and I got my old man reading glasses on, but now I'm on battery power 23%. That's it. So we have a couple choices here to make. We could just run this 23% out until we're fucking done, or I could unplug the camera from the outlet that works and plug the MacBook charger into the thing that works, and then we could hear me, but we wouldn't be able to see me. Are there any questions? Well, we have 23% left. Cue the Jeopardy music. That's right. So the long and short of all this is, it is my wife's birthday bash. Send her some money. Send her some well wishes. I posted on my Facebook fan page that it was my wife's birthday, and I will never do that again because there's like fucking 382 people, and you have to go and hit the heart or the thumbs up for every fucking one of them. And it's so nice of you, but I feel compelled to go hit that thing. And I'm just, actually, my tech whiz, my Mensa genius, Alvin, he's going to have to tell me what a better adapter is than this one that I have. Let's see if I take this out. This has become a challenge, especially since I was considering taking, when I'm trying to learn Streamlabs and putting it on TikTok, and that failed, but I couldn't put it on because I was drinking bourbon. Now I won't be able to put this one on because I'm drinking bourbon, unless there's a disclaimer where I could say, if you have a fan named Kevin Keller and he believes your MacBook Pro AC adapter is fucked, it possibly is the little adapter that 9 different things can plug into 2 different things on your MacBook, so make sure it's not that. And when you're checking this, this can't possibly be bourbon, so this is the damn finest fucking apple cider. Bearcat is aloof. What happens now is Bearcat scares the fuck out of Meerkat. Mary sees Bearcat and goes nuts and flumps, and that's a whole big production. Bearcat has been fed for the night, and I am completely OCD about this electric shit here. Snowball working, AC adapter not working. I'm so fucking mad as I'm trying one more thing. All right, everybody be there like that. This would be the time where, you know, if you had any place to go like pee or get a drink, now's a good time. Well, I don't think it's this, but I'm going to try this anyway. What I'm doing is I keep Vaseline on the side of my stomach. No, I don't. That's just... All right, we're going to try this. 1, 2, 3. Come on now. 1, 2, 3. Boom. Motherfuckers, it didn't work. Okay, so now we're down to 22% here. Happy birthday, Mrs. Comic. Somebody ask questions, or I'll wrap this fucking thing up. Please send some loot. Patreon. I want to get that Patreon up. Get folks over my YouTube channel before the power runs out. That's it. I got nothing. I'll probably just sit here and let the battery run out on this thing the way it goes. Back to Mrs. Comic. All right, let's finish this up with some Mrs. Comic stuff here. Mrs. Comic has this very low tolerance for alcohol. And in New York City, John's Pizza makes a very strong green apple martini. Green apple teeny, they call it. It's kind of expensive, but it's one and fucking out. Somehow, after my wife has the green apple martini in New York, she could probably fly an airplane. And also she would be quick to try to fly an airplane. So she is very much fun. It's an event. She's just not a scary drunk. You don't even know she's drunk. She actually just gets really, really sharp and focused. And so to the point where a couple months after we had our first green apple martini experience at John's Pizza Shop, when we went back in there, the waiter looked at her and said, "Hey, green apple martini!" Boom, roasted. So in New York City, when my wife has had a green apple martini, then we're leaving John's, we must get a cab to go into the village to see something at Joe's pub, because I brought us into the city in the wrong tunnel, so now we have to take a fucking cab there. And I said, we got to get a cab, but don't hail a cab, because the cab driver's going to want to know where to take us, and I don't know when I'm just going to hand him a fucking piece of paper. In a second, my wife hailed a cab in New York City in 1 fucking second, because I said, don't hail a cab. Whatever you do, don't hail a cab. Now, cab, boom, fucking roasted. I don't know how she did it. And that story would be a little better if I wasn't so worried about this thing with Kevin Keller fucked up for me. I'm not sure how he did it. That's the thing. And don't be too proud that you, pushed the Amish kid's electric over. That's like kicking my fucking lemonade stand over, you motherfuckers. But that is the weirdest thing. It's definitely this. Now, the dilemma that I have is I can't show you this because I'd have to unplug it. I actually could. Since everything's wrong now and everything's off, I'll show you this if I can show it to you. See, now you get to see my crotch again. Okay, so the problem is this. It's not going to fix anything, but if I do this and I turn that, where is it? If I turn this to there, see this fucking thing right here? This fucking thing plugs into the side of the MacBook Pro. That's the juice. That's the camera. That one doesn't fucking work. That one fucking does. And that's only 2 you get. Unless if there's a third one on there, that would have solved everything. But there's only fucking 2. Which is weird because there's only 2 on the MacBook Pro, and that's supposed to give you more options. Now I'm really fucking mad. We have definitely lost the... We've definitely lost the Mrs. Comic's birthday bash flow of this show. In fact, this is the least birthday of a show I possibly could have given her. This show didn't really have hardly anything to do. Now look, I'm fucking blurry because I move that fucking camera and it doesn't understand what's going on. We don't know how to focus. Motherfucker, right there. Look, camera. Don't fuck with me. I only have fucking 18% left. I'll just sit here. It's not gonna fucking play. That would have been really cool if I would have known it would have come back into focus when I did that. But no, it was a big surprise to me. I got nothing left. I I'm sorry about me getting upset about my thing not working, but let's be serious. It's really Kevin Keller's fault. Kevin Keller did this. I mean, he's been very good to the show, friend of the show, sent us money, fantastic fan. But this was uncalled for, Kevin Keller. This is, I wouldn't say it's unforgivable. I'm just saying that you are of the unshunned. So technically, there's not really much I can do. It's kind of like I'm not allowed into the Mark Club scenario, but you are part of the unshunned, so you can get away with his kind of fucking shit. So if anybody else has any curses they want to put on my electric, I would suggest you save them for next week, because this one is sufficient to run the gamut here. Let's see, we've got 17% left. The show is actually running almost 2 fucking hours now. That's ridiculous, considering probably only about 9 minutes worth of content. I mean, story-wise. So let's see here. Surprising enough that, and this is why you peckerheads, I mean in a nice way, are the super elite fans, is that nobody put in the chat like, oh, the hamster must have died on the wheel of the electric. Oh. Yeah, motherfuckers. I hear that shit all the fucking time. Oh. Not birthday related, but when you do a guest set, when I do a guest set, or when you do one, in podcast people, we just wing it. We just totally wing it, and then they blindsided me a teeny little bit with coming at me with cancel culture, which I'm actually a really big fan of, because stand-up comedians, we are the original canceled culture. Shit goes wrong in our careers. We say the wrong thing. We mock the name of the hotel where the comedy club was. We are canceled. There's no apologizing. We are fucking donezo. So I'm quite thrilled that cancel culture is happening to other people, because it's really consequence. It's consequence culture. And I will give you an example, and this will be the grand finale of my wife's birthday bash. And also, if you send any money, I promise I will think about giving it to her if we don't need food and if the electric's paid. But the original cancel culture, just so you can frame this, because we somehow believe things can't be canceled, and I just laugh, because I'm just cancel after cancel after cancel. So the analogy I will give you is that every Tuesday for your entire life, you go to Jeffrey's Burgers and you get yourself a nice double Jeffrey cheeseburger, and you fucking love it. It's the greatest thing. It's a little expensive. It's fucking $15 in a place that should be only $5, and you just fucking love it. And you don't give a fuck, and that's Jeffrey's Burgers. And then you find out after 10 years, Jeffrey's Burgers is actually owned by Jeffrey Dahmer. And while you can't actually prove that there's human beings in your burger, so you're sort of almost falsely accusing him, I believe you actually have the right to cancel your fucking Tuesday fucking cheeseburger at Jeffrey Dahmer's. You guys are missing a hell of a show, because my wife's on the sofa over there. She's had a glass and a half of wine, and she's kind of doing a line dance on the sofa while she's laying down like fucking Rockettes, and her legs kicking. And she's just having a lot of fun over there. She really, my wife is so appreciative of all the comments and all the love you guys show her, and she's really happy over there. And that's what happens. The leg goes up and she's happy. I thought she was signaling me like, oh no, her leg's flying. Something must be wrong with the legs on the tripod that's holding the camera, because she's signaling me with the fucking leg. And now we got the electric problem. Fuck you, Kevin Keller. I love you in a bucket of goo. And now the legs kicking all around, and I'm just actually kind of waiting for this fucking battery to die now so we can wrap this thing up.
So I'm curious about the wedding stories.
The wedding stories. Which wedding? There's a lot of wedding stories. Our wedding, my wife and I. Oh, I'll tell you. I will tell you the wedding story of us. We lived together for so many years. People thought we were married, and then when we said we were getting married, they're like, "What the fuck's been going on here the last however many years?" So when we realized everybody that we knew, including our families, thought we were married, we just had a picnic at your mother's house and ordered like 15 fucking Chinese takeout dishes, and that was that. So, I mean, that's a pretty good wedding story.
And the minister came. So you went.
Oh, that's pretty great. Mrs. Comic pointed out something here. The minister came to the house, which I believe they made a special exception to keep me from going into the church. But I'm not 100% sure about that. And so now, my now grown-up nephew, who was the focal half of the Irish couple that got married in Ireland, he was little. And that little fucker rolled around at my feet during the whole ceremony. And the minister's there, and my wife and I were getting married in front of the fireplace in the home where she spent most of her life. And he's down there fucking rolling around, playing with my shoes like a fucking cat. Then he would grow up to be the one who's supplying all these fucking cats. That's another thing. Henrietta, we need to find a home for Henrietta. That's Hank's sister. Check him out on Instagram. Wedding stories. I don't have too many wedding stories. I was best man for 2 weddings, and both those marriages failed. So, I guess we can't blame Kevin Keller for everything, can we? This is amazing, because my wife and I are just looking at each other like, how long will this go on? I'll tell you exactly how long this will go on. 13 more %. I am going to wrap this up. Thank you so much for tuning in. Send us loot. Get people to, at least, if you can't trick them into becoming Patreons on my Patreon, at least trick them into getting on my YouTube channel and hitting this show with a like. Because, I mean, hey, let's face it, this is going to be a... And then, is Richter's in the house. Is Richter in there somewhere? Here's what's going to happen. In a show like this, where I will spend some of my life denying that this even took place, Richter will come in later on and go, make sure this show is always available for your Patreons. We, the Unshunned, would like to see this fucking train wreck of a disaster for generations to come. Generations to come.
I think he's driving.
He's driving. Mm-hmm. Richter, if you're driving, that means you're watching. And that means Richter is a distracted driver right now. Shout out to Richter. I really am gonna wrap this up. I'm actually gonna have to figure out what the fuck is going on. I'm actually, Kevin Keller, as I'm making a dick out of you, you really solved a big nightmare for me, because the adapter that is on the fritz, there's a phrase that I miss. Shit didn't break, it was on the fritz. On the fritz creates the illusion that the thing will sometime be off the fritz and will be working fine again. That's not on the fritz. That's fucked. But if it was the MacBook Pro AC adapter, as Kevin Keller took credit for putting the curse on, those are like a fucking $100, I guess. The adapter that this thing plugs into, that's like a $20 item. That would be a hint for somebody to donate $20 and this would be your thing. Like on a theater chair, it would say, the Kevin Keller seat. There, this would be this adapter would be like the Kevin Keller adapter. And we could also put in there that was the Kevin Keller adapter to replace the one he fucking broke from his curse. So it's been a lot of fun. This is definitely a thing where I did a lot of testing, and I absolutely did not test the credibility of my multi-input adapter. But I'm definitely going to be streaming next week. I have one fucking show in April. So we're not in a crisis situation yet. But that adapter that I have to buy now is going to fuck me up. Because I won't be able to use a fucking snowball in connection with that fucking camera. Because fuck me in a bucket of two goos. So there's that. I'll be streaming, I think, Saturday night. I'm definitely going to be moving forward with story shit from the book. Low battery. Oh, look at it. It says, look at this. It says, here's what it says. Low battery, computer will sleep soon. I believe that is a word for all of us from the virtual cyber world. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to click on this thing. You guys rock so hard. I'm still mad about this thing. And Kevin Keller, I only blame you just a teeny little bit. When you have that power to put curses on shit, you're bound to light a beard or two on fire. So thank you everyone so much. Happy birthday, Mrs. Comic. If you missed the theme of this show, I fucking married above me. So that's that. So here we go. I'm going to do